Welcome back to Tidbit Tours. In this episode, we've invited the artist of the virtual exhibition, The Aesthetics of Mental Health, to join us in exploring the relationship between their artwork and the heritage of mental health in our community. To connect our 5 artists across the digital space, we have asked each of them to reflect on a series of questions that explore their artist journey, how they came to the exhibit, their inspirations, and how they hope to influence the contemporary conversations around mental health. At the Interpretive Center, our conversations begin with the history of mental health and psychiatric care on the Lakeshore grounds. Each of the 5 artists you're about to meet have taken the abstract concept of mental health and materialized it with physical elements to make an artistic representation of how they reflect on the experience and the environment of mental health. So, without further ado, let's meet the artists of the Aesthetics of Mental Health.
My name is Carmina Mieta, and I would definitely describe my journey into being an artist as a winding road. I graduated from OCAD in illustration and found myself in arts administration and social media. And for a long time, I felt like that was deviating from what it meant to be an artist. But the background in organization and communication have really helped as a young professional and now as a self-employed creative. The part that piqued my interest was the intersection of art and design this exhibition was willing to explore. As an artist, I've been interested in the history of a space, personal histories colliding with documented history. I've also been interested in the idea of human history interacting with nature. I love how, especially when we attempt to get rid of things or hide it, it almost exposes that marker onto nature. The work I made for this exhibition really came from this brick that I found on the site of the Lakeshore campus in March of 2020. My boyfriend and I went birding at Colonel Sam Smith, and that was one of the last times we were able to be in public with people pre-pandemic. So I like to think of this brick as representing civilization, human activity, but also seeing it out in nature, liberated from the context of a rigid structure, felt like a really powerful symbol about resilience, something that endured its life cycle and defied its original purpose. In the summer of 2020, I took up cyanotypes because it was a relatively easy process to do at home. It involves chemicals, but it also involves just exposure to sunlight and access to water. And this process was very tactile. It involved immersing the print in water, agitating it, but really it was just nudging it, coaxing it, kind of manifesting this image with nature. And it felt really cleansing. I think the work definitely has multiple readings, but the main feeling or takeaway, I would say, is the beauty and challenge of transformation. I say transformation because of my experience of making this piece has been about taking something heavy and opaque and turning it into something transparent and light, but not hidden. What I definitely wanted to do was reveal these crags and cracks and show all these nuances that exist on the surface, but also can show how it's within. Seeing the artwork now, at its final, there's definitely a different meaning as well that I've gotten from it. Looking at it, there's definitely a buoyancy to it. It feels like the brick doesn't sink as it touches the face of the water. And I wonder for viewers if that is a really hopeful symbol or if it's kind of an improbable reality. I hope my work influences how we look to the past to assess and challenge structures to allow change. The brick can definitely symbolize the incredible weight of care needed for our most vulnerable communities, but I also see it as a symbol for how we can rebuild institutions to support our collective well-being.
Hi, my name is Alex Furtado, and I'm one of the exhibiting artists at the Lakeshore Grounds exhibition, The Aesthetics for Mental Health. How I would describe my journey to becoming an artist is something that's still in a constant state of becoming, influenced by the people, places, and knowledge that I hold at the time. What first interested me about this exhibit was the desire to look at, create, discuss, and bring together expressions of the inside outward. And the main elements that inspired me to create the work, I think, were the overall discussion and ultimately the presenting gallery and the context and the history of the space in which it resides. The main takeaway I would like visitors to learn or feel from experiencing my artwork in this exhibit maybe would be that some things are heavier than they seem, and that as individuals we can ascribe greater weight or value to things that have otherwise been deemed as not having the potential to hold that weight or value. And I hope that this work would influence the conversation around mental health by being present for it and challenging the notions of weight or value and how we ascribe those to things surrounding mental health or even in our everyday lives. And that's everything. Thanks for seeing the exhibit online in whatever way you were able to, and I hope that you were able to get something out of it, small or big.
So, my journey of becoming an artist came from a place of wanting to heal, of wanting to find ways to cope, and wanting to find out how to understand my own mental health and my emotional well being, and healing through art and using art as my lifeboat. What piqued my interest the most about this exhibit, as well as something I identify with a lot as an artist, is the phrase itself, aesthetics of mental health. As in a lot of my work, I try to bring the elusive concept of mental health into a physical, tangible form as a way to cope, as a way to understand myself better. So when I think about aesthetics, I think about that exactly and how to bring it into a physical form. So I was very interested in the way that design plays with mental health. So the main element that inspired my work was my struggles with finding the right dosage of medication, the right type of medication for my mental health, and kind of that journey of 5 years and now even more of trying to find balance, trying to heal, and also trying to normalize taking medications for mental health. So I wanted to document that time of my life in a way that would be easier for me to cope with and understand. The main takeaway that I would like visitors to have from my work is that healing takes time and patience. It's trial and error, it's hard work, but it's okay, and we have to normalize that. And to surround yourself with people that you trust and that love you, that can help you through this journey, is also very important. I hope my art will influence conversations of mental health by normalizing it and also encouraging others to share their story. I think that's the main thing that I do in my work, is the power of one story. And I do feel if people have the courage to come out and talk about it, we're gonna be able to normalize it and learn from each other's experiences.
Hi, my name is Rashmeet and I use she and her pronouns. Art has always had an important place in my life, especially as a student of sciences, where people have this misconception that I can't make art. I often find a lot of inspiration from the sciences and pull it into my artwork to find a healthy balance. I enjoyed that this exhibit gave me the chance to express through my artwork what mental health care looks like to me. As an artist, I think that art is a powerful tool that we can use to make positive change, especially since art leaves the space for people to take what they need and interpret things as they like. I also particularly enjoyed how all the artists in this exhibit touched on aspects of tangibility in their artwork. In my pieces, this was portrayed through the veil and the pressed flowers and leaves. Most of my work in this exhibit and in other places pulls a lot of inspiration from the sciences. In this exhibit particularly, I wanted to play with human anatomy, but then go beyond the basics to explore what that really looks like for mental health. I hope that the visitors that view my artwork are able to take away what they need, especially in terms of being able to have the courage to hold conversations regarding mental health. Mental health has had a very shrouded past, but together we can work towards a better future which incorporates better therapeutic care. I hope that when people see my art, they can take away that science isn't something that they should be scared of. And I also hope that they can take away that mental health is something that everyone has. And so we should be able to have positive conversations regarding mental health. And this will help us better take care of ourselves and others.
My journey as an artist is about experimentation and my fascination with the creative process. I always loved drawing, and whenever I would go outside, I would carry a small sketchbook in my pocket and draw whatever caught my eye. My current path as an artist came from my studies in art history. I was drawn to the historical works that were left unfinished or purposely left unfinished, where the preparatory drawing or underpainting is left visible. My goal was to experiment with underpainting and making evidence of the artistic process an aesthetic element in the final composition. After posting Mask on Instagram back in January, I was sent a private message on Instagram to check out the call for submissions page. I was inspired by the curator's statement and hoped that my work would be able to contribute to the conversation surrounding mental health and current issues involving the pandemic. What led to the creation of the painting Mask is obviously the pandemic. With the pandemic affecting our lives and medical information and imagery becoming more abundant, it was inevitable it would influence my art. I was leaning towards this color palette I felt was a medical color scheme of various grays and desaturated blues, colors that I felt were neutral, calming, and sanitary. The mask became a part of our everyday lives as it became essential to stop the spread of COVID-19. As a result, this disposable medical device became a symbol of this moment in time. The genre of portrait painting was historically about connecting with an absent individual emotionally. The figure in my painting is obscured by the character's mask and not making direct eye contact with the viewer. This invites the viewer to enter a non-confrontational, silent, and private conversation with the subject and the artist. In art historical symbolism, the depiction of the everyday action can elevate the subject to a heroic figure, making this everyday procedure of putting on a mask and following medical guidelines a heroic action. I hope visitors of the exhibition will reflect on the impact created by this pandemic and the lingering mental health issues that will follow once the pandemic is over. And I hope this show helps remove the stigma attached to mental health.
You can explore these artists' work through the digital exhibit at lakeshoregrounds.ca. We'd also like to thank each of the artists for sharing their words and supporting the conversations around mental health through their participation in the show and this video. You can join the conversation on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lakeshore GRNDS. Send us your questions, reflections, and thoughts by email at info@lakeshoregrounds.ca. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.